Hey guys, how you doing today? I had to get out of the house. I spend so much of my time in the house, and the only time I'm actually able to get out is when I'm walking my little guy, my dog, or going to the grocery store. Everything else is I'm pretty much spending all my days inside. So I felt compelled to do a recording right at this moment, and I thought, what the heck? I'll just take a little walk while I do it. Clear my head. Beautiful day today. Heartbreakingly beautiful. I really wanted to be outside today. I couldn't take. I think that's important for people to get outside and for people to enjoy the nice weather when they've got an opportunity. And I know we're supposed to be socially distancing and not gathering in groups, but I think you can still pop your head out. It's always encouraging, as around here at around 7:30, I think is when the shift switches over for the hospital workers. People are out on their balconies banging pots and hooting and hollering. There's something beautiful and uplifting about that. It's I think the thing that's banging around in my head today is we're always told, like, you have to find meaning, right? That's the big narrative right now, right? That certainly exists in the kind of conservative mindset at the moment. It exists in the way that it exists in that conversation on the right, especially. But finding meaning, I mean, that's all well and good. Like, everybody wants to understand why they're here, right? Everyone wants to ask those sort of big questions. But the system itself, capitalism, gets in the way of that. When people need to sell their labor into a market that is dominated by billionaires, the first thing they have to kind of take care of is their food and their shelter. And the people pretend as though that's freely given, and it isn't. And I think it's because there are lots of people whose whole lives have been, I'm going to be on I'm going to work a business, my dad's business, let's say, or I'm going to get on the rails of getting into an education, which got me this job, and now I'm on the rails of all that. And nobody actually can pause and consider for a moment, wait, why am I here? What is this for? What is this time that I'm spending here? What is any of this? And instead you have to focus on just get food in my mouth, just make sure I've got a roof over my head. And it's so frustrating, because what if you do manage to discover the purpose that you're here, and it has nothing to do with selling yourself into a market dominated by billionaires? What if it has nothing to do with selling yourself or any kind of market at all, selling any kind of service or selling any kind of thing? What if it has nothing to do with that? And you encounter that all of the time here in this society, right? Like, if you're a priest or in a church or something like this, right? Accumulating wealth should be the antithesis of your purpose. It should have absolutely nothing to do with what we're doing here. And yet the capitalist system exists as it does, and taints these kind of pursuits, and taints what we're trying to do, and turns it from, like, you can't just have a gathering of people. You have to try to squeeze money out of them. And you open the door to all kinds of ridiculous behavior and all kinds of ridiculous people. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just trying to get by and trying to get through and trying to make things happen for themselves and for the people around them. And the demands of the capitalist structure, the demand that says, well, sure, yeah, find your meaning, but do it on your own time, and then takes the better part of your life. Like, telling people to pursue their passions or their meaning, or to find any of that, while simultaneously draining away their life is in my view cruelty. I think it's an extremely cruel position to say to people, oh yeah, we acknowledge that you want to find meaning, but we won't acknowledge that the system we have in place and the system that we like is completely getting in the way of that. That we really do want you to spend your life grinding away in a capitalist-dominated market. That's really what we want you to do. We want our billionaires to get slightly richer, because that's our job. That's what we're here to do. It's very heartbreaking to me. It's very heartbreaking that there's this well-meant, in many cases I do think it is well-meant, to say, oh well, hey, find your meaning, right? Make it happen. But nobody is taking seriously, it seems like, nobody's taking seriously that I can't achieve that. And now I have all this time and I can't do anything with it. Not really. I can't go out. I can't interact with anyone. Not really. I certainly couldn't sell myself into a labor market. And it's this frustrating kind of moment of, well, I'd like to get on with what I'm doing, but we have this COVID-19 crisis to worry about. And I do think that this COVID-19 crisis is making more and more people realize, like, what the heck were we doing before? Why were we in this, like, ridiculous race, this absurd kind of grinding existence? Why? For what purpose? What were we accomplishing? What were we rushing towards? What are we attempting to achieve? Like, if I'm being asked to sacrifice the majority of my life to this system, to this structure, I have questions about, well, why? What is this for? What does this achieve? Who are we helping? Who are we helping with a capitalist system? Who are we helping with selling ourselves into a market that's dominated by billionaires? And because it doesn't seem like it's helping us. It doesn't seem like the majority of people are being helped. And in fact, the more you see it and the more you realize it, it doesn't even seem to be working for the proponents of the system. That they're also caught in this absurd kind of grind. Like, if you're a billionaire living in this society, you don't understand anything about life outside your castle walls. If you're a billionaire, right, you have never, someone like David Thompson, right? He'll never have any idea what it's like to sell himself into that market. He'll never have any comprehension about what it is to sell yourself to a market that's dominated by billionaires, because he's the billionaire. And if he's going to turn around and tell me, oh, well, the reason why we're all here is to find our meaning, then I'm going to politely say, well, what does that have to do with you? Why is it that anytime I try to find my meaning, I have to kind of ask permission to a billionaire? That, I think, is really the frustrating part about dealing with this capitalist system, is that no matter what you decide to pursue, and especially as capitalism moves forward and the inequality becomes more and more vast, and people can only have access to resources by selling themselves to a vanishingly few amount of wealthy people, why is my existence and why is my meaning impingent on the opinions of these people? Why is it that my reason for being has to accommodate these people I'll never meet and who obviously don't care about me? So, I mean, the more and more I get to it, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I am like, I do think I know what my meaning is. I think my meaning is to shit on capitalism as hard as possible. I don't think I'm going to make any bones about that. Like, I believe that I was sent here in this moment to experience from the bottom to the top neoliberal capitalism so that I could come out the other side at this moment, at this time, and tell these capitalists to their face, their system sucks. Their system sucks and they suck for liking it. I really am over it with these guys. I really am. Like, there was a moment for a little period of time where I was like, oh, you know, it's about changing hearts and minds. You're not going to change anybody's mind. At this point, the evidence is so overwhelming and is so egregious and is so directly in your face that you really do have to go out of your way to avoid it. You really do need to just take your head and bury it under sand to try and create an argument that says that capitalism is worth anything. Like, the system that tells you there's owners who you have to sell yourself to in order to get your food and shelter is a slave system. Capitalism has always been a slave system. That is what it is by design. And if you were to attempt to reform capitalism to eliminate slavery from it, you would destroy capitalism in the process. Capitalism begins with slavery. They fight wars over what style of slavery they want to have. The chattel slavers argued that wage slavery was less moral than chattel slavery, because at least chattel slavers guaranteed food and shelter to their slaves, whereas wage slavers did not. And every so often someone says to me, well, if you want a basic income, all you're doing is becoming a slave to the state, you know. And like everything, turns out if you let the private sector do something, it's just a much worse version. That's stupid, but that's a thought I had. I think that we're in a really transformative moment here. I really do feel it. It feels more and more like everybody I'm talking to is either completely on board with the idea of a basic income or is genuinely inquisitive, which is a pretty major shift. I'm very much used to it being everybody is either just hard against it. How are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for that? Or sort of like, oh, I guess that's interesting, I suppose, but not really any expectation that anything would ever happen with it. And now we have a version of it. I'm living on a basic income right now. And I wish that we would just extend it to these workers. There's a grocery store here. I'm going to go into this grocery store after this recording. They're not getting a basic income. That's ridiculous. That's the most goddamn ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard in my life. That a crisis occurred, lots of people got unemployed, and we helped them, we got support for them. But the people we told, okay, but you got to keep working, I guess go fuck yourself, right? Like, oh yeah, you got to keep working, shrug. You're an essential worker. You're a hero, TM. Like, shut the fuck up, give them a basic income. And if that means that they decide that they are going to stop working because they are afraid for their safety, or because they feel like the job that they're doing is not essential, then great. Great. That's a real achievement in my view. Like, I have absolutely no problem with the idea. Like, let's say there's 30 permanent staff working there, right? Like, I would work a day at this grocery store, right? I'd work 2 days at the grocery store a week, for sure. For sure, and I think lots of people would. Keep this place open. It's so convenient. It's right there, right? And it's not like as we're constantly reminded about these absolutely crucial, essential workers that are the backbone of our economy, anyone can do that, right? It's unskilled labor, right? This absolutely desperately important work that must happen, but we're not going to pay them anymore. You know? And if we do give them a pay raise, a couple bucks. Yeah, a couple bucks. Give them a basic income. They should be making what I am making plus their wage. That's what should be happening. And if you get affronted by that, if that offends you, if you get all, oh, gracious me and glory be about that, like, I am to a point where I am just willing to say, go fuck yourself. Like, go fuck yourself. Get over it. Get over your hang-ups. Get over the weird bigotry that you have towards low-wage workers, towards unskilled labor, if you like, right? Get over these weird, odd, calcified walls that you've erected around yourself that says that because a person is working an unskilled job, they are somehow less of a person. But then when the crisis shows up, oh, well, they're desperately, desperately important now. Get rid of it. Get rid of the paradox that exists. Just delete it from your mind, right? We will forgive you. I think that's the most important part. If you were one of these people who were saying, oh, well, there's just unskilled labor, who cares about them? They're just the poors, all of this, right? And then you turn around and you say, oh, I guess they're essential workers and all of that. You know, we forgive you. But if you really, really care, if you really care, these people should absolutely be getting the basic income. Absolutely they should be. And very slowly, provincial governments like the Doug Ford administration ups the wages for nurses, up the wages for that industry and ups it for that industry, and, you know, little tweak here, little tweak there. You know, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck these little tweaks. Fuck the withholding. Fuck this. Fuck that. This clutching, withholding, little tiny trickling. This argument that says, oh hey, let's just we're just going to focus on getting the money to the people who need it. Like the Trudeau government continuously says, we'll just get the money to the people who need it. The people working on the front line need it. The people working on the front line need it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the bullshit. Pass the basic income. I don't think I'm going to take any politicians seriously to the level where I expect them to be expunged from the political process if they're not going to stand up and support the basic income. We absolutely need it. If only to allow people to finally look around themselves, take a breath, take a moment, have a vacation, slow down a little bit, and ask themselves, wait, what am I doing here? What's my meaning? Because up until that moment, it's never going to happen for them. And if that's why you think people are here, then you should let them get to it. All right, that's the end of me. Good luck out there, guys.